section 4, subsection 4. The parties are not within the degrees of prohibited relationship unless the custom or usage governing each of them permits of marriage between the two. Here we can see we have already discussed that the degrees of prohibited relationship. That means a person uh, who is related, the person who is going to marry is related from the common ancestor. So here we can see in north areas or some other areas, as per the act, the aunt and nephew cannot marry. So they will come under the degrees of prohibited relationship. And uncle and niece cannot marry. They are these people, these persons, brother and sister cannot marry. So these relationships are considered as a prohibited relationships, and that was mentioned in this act. So now for this example, for this subclass, class 4, the parties are not within the degrees of prohibited relationship unless the custom and usage governing each of them permits of a marriage between the two. As per the act, that means I am saying an example for the custom and usage now. So as per the Hindu Marriage Act, the person who are having a common ancestor cannot marry. But if we see in our Andhra area, we can see that ఇప్పుడు ఏం చేస్తారంటే అక్క కూతుర్ని పెళ్లి చేసుకునేటువంటి పరిస్థితులు ఉన్నాయి. అండ్ ఇన్ ద సేమ్ వే హియర్ వీ క్యాన్ సీ అక్క కూతుర్ని పెళ్లి చేసుకోవడం అంటే ద రిలేషన్షిప్ వాస్ ప్రొహిబిటెడ్ యాజ్ పర్ ది డిగ్రీస్ ఆఫ్ ప్రొహిబిటెడ్ రిలేషన్షిప్. దట్ మీన్స్ దే విల్ కమ్ అండర్ అంకుల్ అండ్ అంకుల్ అండ్ నీస్. సో మామ కోడలు వస్తుంది. సో దట్ రిలేషన్షిప్ ప్రొహిబిటెడ్ యాజ్ పర్ ది డిగ్రీస్ ఆఫ్ ప్రొహిబిటెడ్ రిలేషన్షిప్ ఆఫ్ హిందూ మ్యారేజ్ యాక్ట్. But here, this custom and usage, this practice has been done in the Andhra area since time immemorial, since long back. So this has not received any oppose from the public policy. So this custom has been practicing, and this has been considered as a reasonable in the Andhra area. This has been practicing. So the marriage between the uncle and niece, that is sister's daughter is also considered a valid marriage as per in our Andhra area. So the why I am saying this is, if we read this class 4, the parties are not within the degrees of prohibited relationship unless the custom or usage governing each of them permits of a marriage between the two. So in our area, the marriage between these two persons, as per our example, is permissible, and that has been recognized, that has been practicing since long back. So in that case, this is even the marriage performed in between the degrees of prohibited relationship is also valid. That is as per section 5. Now coming to section 5 subsection 4, class 4. Now coming to section 5, class 5. The parties are not subindas of each other unless the custom or usage governing each of them permits of the marriage between the two. That is also this example can be applied to this subsection, class 5 of subsection, class 5 of section 5 of Hindu Marriage Act. That is conditions for the marriage. In case of subindas also, this example which we have discussed can be applied. Now coming to section 6, which we have already discussed, that this section was repealed. I will just read this name of the section 6. That is, section 6 means guardianship in marriage. So as we discussed just before, that a guardian, so for a minor, the minor's consent is invalid in the eye of law. So for the consent on behalf of the minor's consent, that is for bride who is under the age of 18 years, his parents consent was taken during that time, and the marriage has been performed. Only because enactment of this Child Marriage Restraint Act, then only this section has been repealed from the act. Until then, this act was in force, and the child marriages has been done. Now coming to section 7, ceremonies of the Hindu marriage. What are the essential ceremonies of a Hindu marriage? So, as per subsection 1 of section 7, a Hindu marriage has to be performed. The marriage may be solemnized in accordance with the customary rites and ceremonies of either party thereto. So if A is having some ceremonies or some customs and rites, and B is having some ceremonies and customs and rites, so the marriage can be performed or solemnized in either of the manner which they follows, which they accept to. So that is subsection. Now come subsection 1. Now coming to subsection 2 of section 7, wherein the essential ceremony which was mentioned. Actually, for a Hindu marriage, there are several number of ceremonies like Ganapati Puja, Nandi Devatas, Kashi Yatra, and Kanyadanam. This kind of ceremonies are there. But as per law, the only recognized important ceremony is Saptapadi. Saptapadi. That means Saptapadi means the couple who has got married walks around the sacred fire after completion of the seventh step by bride and bridegroom. The marriage has been solemnized, and that is binding on both the parties to the marriage. So Saptapadi is the important ceremony that was Saptapadi is the important ceremony that has to be performed in the Hindu marriage as per section 7. In the recent judgment, I forgot to note it down actually. The Supreme Court has held that even if the marriage is registered, if the essential ceremony, that is Saptapadi, is not performed, that marriage is treated as a void marriage.